Penuel the Black Pen, happy Friday to each and every one of you. I need to get this off my chest because I do think it's fundamentally important. In South Africa, I think it's fundamentally important from a racial perspective and just from a societal perspective. There's a story that's been trending over the last 2 days where one of the most popular podcasts in South Africa called Open Chats trended because of a clip where two of the people, I think, sitting on the panel spoke in a derogatory manner about colored people. If you watch the clip, you'll see someone says, colored people are crazy, man, and then someone says, yeah, apparently they sleep with each other's siblings. That clip was taken, it got online, it happened to catch a spark, it happened to catch a flame, and then it turned into a bonfire. The colored community in South Africa has been incredibly upset, feeling prejudiced, feeling a sense of racism, feeling huge disrespect. And they've been calling for Open Chats as a podcast platform to be shut down, to be cancelled. And it got to politicians. Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture in South Africa, Gayton McKenzie, a very proud colored man who represents the colored community in many ways. Very upset, made a video speaking about how he's gonna speak to the SABC, he's gonna speak to DSTV to make sure that they are held to account for putting these guys on a platform. Especially because the podcasts are pre-recorded, it's not live. So these kids said this, it was reviewed clearly, and they didn't see anything wrong. New member of the Patriotic Alliance, Liam Jacobs, who's just deflected from the Democratic Alliance, went to open a case, if I'm not mistaken, in Brooklyn and Pretoria. I stand to be corrected. Saying they are opening a criminal case against these kids. Well, what I thought were kids, people are saying they're actually not as young as I thought they were. I thought they were in their teens or in their early 20s. Apparently, they're older than that. So, sorry, the two gents that run Open Chats, along with the ladies that are on the platform as well. They're going to open a case. Many people calling for the South African Human Rights Commission to come in to look into hate speech, racism, etc. We have had cases in the past, Penny Sparrow, Vicky Momberg, and I don't remember this gentleman's name. He's got like a Portuguese, Greek surname, who was on a holiday somewhere, saying racist things about Black people. I made a TikTok video yesterday, which I think is currently sitting at over 300,000 views at God Panel on TikTok, where I weighed in and I said, listen, I really think these guys, I watched the clip, I don't think that they were trying to be malicious in what they were saying. I understand Open Chats to be a platform where young people come together, like Podcast and Chill with McG and Soul. They come together, they talk shit, they laugh, they say whatever's on their mind, they speak about sex, about OnlyFans, about, who you smashed, and it's not meant to be malicious. It was my take out, of course. And I said, but they were wrong, and they were offensive, and they must be called out. And colored people are well within their rights to be angry and to ask something to happen. But I said, I don't think the idea of opening a criminal case is best. I think they must be called out. I think they must be verbally chastised. I think they must apologize, of which they've released an apology, which many people feel is not sincere and doesn't show any remorse. People would say something similar around McG, apologizing to Minnie Dlamini around saying, why do guys keep breaking up with Minnie? Maybe her coochie stinks or something. And very, very derogatory, very demeaning, very inappropriate, very misogynistic, very disrespectful, man, to a young woman who has done so incredibly well in her career. And now Minnie Dlamini has said, look, she doesn't think the apology was sincere, and she is suing Podcast and Chill and MacGyver for 2.5 million. We'll see where that case ends up. We are trying to build a nation, I'd like to think. We are trying to fix the ills of the past. We are trying to fix the ills of apartheid, and we are trying to have some type of unity and social cohesion. The idea of cancel culture, where we just bash people when we don't like them, is not only dangerous, but it tends to bite us in the ass later on. I was one of the people that even when Vicky Momberg was being arrested for either she said monkeys or that was Penny Sparrow or Kaffir or whatever, I said I don't think this is in the best interest of what we're trying to achieve. Because people, I see some of the colored people that commented under that video and under some of my posts on Twitter, etc., saying, yeah, but if it was black people, you wouldn't be saying this. I would, because I have in the past. Trevor Noah, I don't know if you are speaking to Oprah Winfrey or who you are speaking to. He said, prejudice does not hold up well against contact. I think in the context, he was speaking about a lot of white Americans speaking very ill of the Muslim community. To which he'd asked them, so have you spent time with Muslims? Nah, they terrorists. What? So you don't know any Muslims. You haven't spent time with any Muslims. You've never visited them, gotten to know their families and their kids. You're just speaking as someone who's fully ignorant. And I fully agree with that. In the South African context, if you ever spend time with Zimbabweans, Malawians, if you spend time with Nigerians, if you spend time with Mozambicans, you'll realize some of the struggles that these people are going through. And when you are calling for illegal foreigners, undocumented immigrants to be deported, to be punished, you will have a different perspective because you'll understand that not all of them are peddling drugs. Not all of them are involved in prostitution. Not all of them are trafficking human beings. Some of them are people that come from dire poverty. They come from a Zimbabwe, they don't support ZANU-PF. They come from a country where they try to work hard and they've been chastised. Similar to South Africans who would go into exile at a time when apartheid South Africa was hostile to them. They are saying, we came looking for a better life. Unfortunately, we do not have a scarce skill. Unfortunately, we do not have the right documentation. Unfortunately, we crossed the river, we went through a border fence illegally, but we're here today driving a Checker 60 scooter, helping cars to park. We are doing hair. We are cleaning houses. We are working as waiters just to get by. And if you look at where we live in a squatter camp or sharing with 5 other people in one small room, it is not luxury. And yes, we go home during the holidays because we have to take back the little bit that we have to try and create a better life back home. That is not to say that, oh, they should stay here, and as opposed to a Bahambe. No. And it's not to say that it's okay for them to break the law, but it's to give you perspective. Vicky Momberg, as an example, should have undergone racial sensitivity training. She should watch Sarafina, Cry Freedom, go and volunteer with the EFF, especially when they're protesting, to understand what racism does. Sit with the victims of racism to say, I didn't get this job. I was beaten up by this man. There was this farmer who let dogs bite us till we died. To understand what racism does to people so that she can learn. She can learn what happens when she says Kaffir or monkey or these bloody black people. She must understand that when these children are born into a township, into a squatter camp, which they didn't choose, every time they got into the world and they get treated a certain way, it is because of racist structures that have been enacted. It is not by choice that they find themselves there. So in that context, canceling open chats, when you look at the net negative, here are some young people who maybe they have opportunities for jobs, maybe they don't, but they took it upon themselves to innovate and create a platform for expression, for youth expression. Whether you like the conversations or not, it is what young people are speaking about. They speak about sex, they speak about threesomes, they speak about OnlyFans, they speak about all these things. And for the rest of us, we get to listen so that we get an understanding of, oh, okay, OnlyFans is the problem. We can then go and boycott and shut it down and say, we think this is actually bad for society. Young people to their parents about needing registration fees when they're on NSFAS, they take the money, they buy weed, they buy some hoes, and you're like, oh, okay, so that's we're learning because they us. You're closing up a platform which gives them jobs, pays the production company, and allows us to learn from them. Again, this doesn't mean they can say whatever the fuck they want, no. But it's for us to be like, when they do, How do we educate them? How do we take these kids? Take them to El Dorado Park, take them to Reicha Park, take them to Lenasia, take them to Mitchell's Plain, take them to the Cape Flats, and say, we'd like you to spend time in colored areas and see how they live. I've done charity work in all sorts of places. I live relatively close to a drug-fueled neighborhood, colored neighborhood called Westbury in Johannesburg. I've donated there to preschools. We've done soup kitchens there to try and give back. And when you speak to the women there, when you speak to the gents there, they don't like the drugs. They don't like the gangs. Many of them, like black people in townships, are trying to get their education game on. They're trying to get their rugby game on, their athletics game on, so that they can get out. They want a better life. They want to be Tyler. They want to be Trevor Noah. They want to be Sizwe Mpofu Walsh. They want to be youngster CPT. They want to also make it, bro. They want to be AKA. They're like, I also want to succeed and I want to contribute to this country. I don't like where I live. They have problems just like black people have problems of alcohol abuse and nyaupe and women that keep having children, unprotected sex, young children falling pregnant, rape. They have struggles. They fought in the struggle against apartheid. Some of our most celebrated struggle heroes, I'm not even talking about your Trevor Manuels and your Patricia DeLilles. I'm talking about people that people don't know. Black people will speak about Solomon Mahlangu, Abo Hector Peterson. There are colored versions of that fought as well. And those young guys at Open Chats and the young ladies need to go and do work to be like, look, before you speak about colors again, just think about it, bro. Think about what you're saying. Be free, number one. Number two, understand the dangers of racism. There are black racists. I know black people get angry when I say this, but fuck, bro. Just because you don't own the structures of wealth doesn't mean you don't fit the definition of racism. Racism is when you're prejudiced against a person or a group of people purely based on their race. The reason you look down on that person is purely because they are white, purely because they are Indian, purely because they are black or colored. Who said that? A colored? I knew it. I'm a colored. Coloreds are crazy. And you're like, no, why would you say that? You know, he's colored. That's not fair. That's prejudice. That's racism. You won't invest here. You won't support this person. You will not vote for this leader purely because they are white, even though they are doing good work. That is racism. You will not buy from this business purely because the person is Afrikaans and white. That is racism. And racism is a cancer that affects all of us in various ways. After doing that, it would be nice for a lot of podcasters, including myself, to maybe go for workshops every now and then. It would be nice if they're hosted by government. But if it's not government, some of us in podcasting make enough money to have some of these gatherings ourselves. We can literally put together a podcast conference in Bizo. There's enough money being made by Podcast and Chill, by SMWX, by the Hustlers Corner, by Convo, by the Panel Show, whoever you can think of, King David Studios, whichever podcast, there's enough money for us to literally hire a venue, buy some food or get some catering, and just sit and say, guys, how can we do things better? We understand each of us has a brand, but with our brands, we have responsibilities. Part of the responsibility is to exercise our freedom of speech. Part of our responsibility is to say the uncomfortable things, to represent the voices of the voiceless. That's part of our responsibility. Mac G must say what Mac G thinks and feels and what is being said out there. So must the guys at Open Chats. So must Ronaldo Gous. So must Roman Kabanak. So must Ukatlejo from Citizen Concerned. So must Big Daddy Liberty Usihle Ngobese. They must say the things they want to say and we must protect them. But then in that conference, we speak about how we must be responsible in how we say these things. Example, coloreds are crazy. Coloreds are sleeping with their siblings. You know, bro, I was chilling with some colored mates of mine, and they were like, yo, coloreds are so crazy. And they were visiting their cousins, And these guys just rocked up and they were like, hey, why are you looking at me like that? And they started stabbing each other just because you're like, bro, that's fucking insane. Kabanga, that was a colored mate of mine in Aldo's telling me that story. And he was telling me colored people are fucking wild. Trevor Noah with license would go on stand-up comedy platforms and crack jokes about Stiakom, baby, Stiakom. That colored woman like will love you insanely and they'll fucking want to stab you. He'll tell a story about a colored guy talking about a plane crash. You, my bro, but the pilot is most another. Oh, when he clapped the handbrake and he's like, he does that with license, but within a structured way we can enjoy it, we can appreciate it. It's social commentary that we can digest. The open chats, guys, frame that like that. We can have a conversation. One of the ladies at open chat says, bro, I was chilling with some colored mates and this chick was like, do you know that like a lot of colored people are sleeping with their siblings? What? That's wild. Is that a true thing? Yeah. Apparently, like black people, also some of them sleep with their siblings. And there are families in South Africa where certain black communities still marry off their first cousin to a cousin. And you're like, hey, that's a conversation. Is it true? To the brainos out there, like say my Lanis, are you guys sleeping with your siblings? Are you sleeping with your cousins? Is that like a real thing, or is like this person just talking shit, or is it just their family? You raise that, it's freedom of speech, but it is packaged in such a way that we can actually have a healthy discourse. And you're not saying colors are crazy, and you're not saying colors are sleeping with their siblings. Because a Ronaldo host, a Rob Hersoff, a Garrett Cliff goes on a platform and he says, man, blacks are crazy. Apparently blacks are sleeping with their cousins. You'll be inflamed. Someone will say, but it's freedom of speech. Just because it hurts you doesn't mean it's hate speech. Come on, but some of us know that there are black people that are sleeping with their cousins. Or it is the way you raise it. And in that gathering, we can say, look, sometimes just consider certain topics and how you raise them. And even after you've offended people, be very quick to remove that thing and then apologize sincerely. And where you have a misunderstanding, welcome people, please, can you teach me better? I'm so sorry, I was not aware. And it's off the back of that I was saying, when I watched the clip, I don't think there was malice. But to someone who doesn't know that type of chat, those type of jokes, to a colored person who's listening to that for the first time, I fully understand how that could be offensive. And how we can say, you know what, you're right to be offended. And you're right to call these guys out and for them to be punished. DSTV would remove thereafter, by the way. It's been removed. Open Chats has now been removed as one of the podcasts that is playing on DSTV. I think Podcast and Chill as well, I'm not sure. And many people are even asking now, what was the criteria? What was the criteria for DSTV and MultiChoice to say, these are the podcasts about Joseph Derry that are going to make it? Awkward Dates with Lasizwe. Why these ones? Why don't you guys want to put up SMWX? Why don't you want to put up King David Studios? So I've got two answers quickly. Number one, having spoken to the guys who run Podcast and Chill, Upal, I think is the CEO, they went and they pitched. They took the initiative and they said, hi, we would like to have our podcast on your platform. And they pitched and they won the pitch. If myself, if SMWX, if King David wants that, we can also go pitch. Bro, go and knock on the doors. Please, may I get my podcast on your platform, yes or no? On the other hand, DSTV, MultiChoice, even SABC can reach out to us. We are reachable. We have social media platforms. You can send us a DM. You can drop us an email. If you want our content, if you want to license our content. If there is an agenda to say, no, we just want trash TV or Moja Love type stuff. So we want the podcasts that are like gossipy, celebrity, not really serious. We don't want the serious stuff where Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh is actually interrogating real issues, where David Mashabela is having very healthy, stimulating, robust conversations, where DJ Smooth is having Joshua Maponga there and they're speaking about, no, we don't want that. That's too educational. No, thanks. We want the garbage. That's okay. Let us know. And at least we'll know, no, there's certain agendas being, but just to defend them, that is what happened. So Open Chats has been taken off. Gayton McKenzie has made, I think, 2 videos, if I'm not mistaken, or one. The one video was him apologizing to the SAPC. He had made a mistake claiming that the SAPC was also flighting Open Chats, of which the SAPC is not. And I'm not aware that they flight any podcasts currently. So he apologized unreservedly and he withdrew. He made a mistake the same way the guys at Open Chats made a mistake. The SABC could sue him for defamation, but they're not. They could have opened a criminal case of libel, but they're not. He apologized. These guys can also just apologize and withdraw. We're so sorry, we made a mistake. This is stuff we'd heard from our friends, and we're not speaking about the whole community. Very important. I don't know if it's in the same video or in another video where Gayton McKenzie says he's listened to people there, and very correctly they are saying, look, don't punish these young guys. They run a platform, they make money, they create jobs. They were just expressing themselves and they made a mistake. I didn't watch the rest of that clip, but I will say on my side, I appreciate leaders, political, religious, traditional, that actually listen to the people. It's very important. Other people that I'd seen on Twitter had said things that Gayton McKenzie is a success story because he was given a second chance. He's an ex-convict. He's a criminal. He was involved in serious crime in South Africa. And society gave him a second chance. Yes, he earned it. He came out, he repented, he wrote books, he went around motivating and speaking to kids about the dangers of crime. He's donated and contributed in communities. He's built businesses, he's created jobs, and now he's in politics. He's paid his debt in multiples to society. As far as I'm concerned, others could feel their own way. And society has given him a second chance. And if Gayton McKenzie can be given a second chance, and if Kenny Kunene can be given a second chance, and if Liam Jacobs can leave the DA and join the Patriotic Alliance as another bite at the political cherry, give the kids another chance. Allow them to repent, to apologize. Let them go and do community service in colored communities. Let them spend time with coloreds. And then be like, we hope you've learned your lesson and you've apologized to colored people. And maybe if you can donate to colored people. And all your supporters at Open Chats can donate to some of the ills in the colored community. And you're like, okay, we're a community of second chances. This is beautiful. This is rehabilitation. This is nation building. This is social cohesion. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. Colored people in South Africa are a pain point that we don't want to discuss. We all turn a blind eye, and coloreds have become our stepchildren or our unwanted adopted children, or those kids from over there. Over there. The colored community exists as proof, living proof of our difficult history and some of the atrocities of history. Many of them are the descendants of rape victims, where black women, maybe Xhosa women, maybe Khoi and San women, were sexually violated by white European men because they were working on their farms or in their houses. And without consent, these men would violate them and assault them. And from there, we don't have condoms at the time, we don't have contraceptives. These women would fall pregnant and have children. And those children over generations will give birth to families that are colored. They are a living representation of interracial relationships at a time when it was illegal, immoral to do so. Trevor Noah writes a book called Born a Crime, where his black Xhosa mom would have a child with a white Swiss man at a time when it was illegal to do so. According to his story, the father did not violate the mom, did not assault the mom. They mutually decided to engage in intercourse and have a child. We have Trevor Noah today. But he couldn't be seen with his father because that's a crime. He wasn't meant to be with his black family. He falls under a different group in South Africa, according to apartheid, which is colored. So he would have needed to be taken from his black family because he's not black. But he can't go live with whites. He'd go and live with coloreds. And his father would be arrested for breaking the laws, go and live somewhere else, taken away from his family. And it would be at those times where some of the families would lie and say, no, this child is just light-skinned. This child is actually an albino. He cracks jokes about it, the day woke up. The day woke up stand-up comedy, which I think is his breakthrough performance in comedy, where he says everyone thought he was an albino and why he could be in the sun. Because they know albinos, they've got a skin condition, they need to stay in the shade and wear sunscreen. Would say, when are you like a day walking vampire? The Khoi and the San, black and white, through mutual sex or through sexual violation, gave birth to the colored community. Colored instrumental in the fight against apartheid. Coloreds would be shoved to the side, not white enough, sadly, and unfortunately not black enough. And they ended up finding each other. And in finding each other, they created their own communities. And there are still, sadly, many people today who are like, oh, coloreds don't have a culture. They've built their own cultures. We can crack jokes about them, we can laugh about them, but your Kavelas, they fish, they were fishermen, your Babsak, the way they speak, your Masa, the infusion, of course, of the Malaysians that were also brought in as slaves in the Western Cape. And now you've got Cape Malay, which is another type of Kalhans boy. Flaming. They make their own music. They've got their own dishes. Think Popoti. They've been actors, they've been musicians, they've been comedians. They are absolutely phenomenal at football. I mean, you think of Quinton Fortune, you think of Benny McCarthy, Monique Josephs. There are too many. Andre Arense. Rugby. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Literally, the entire Springbok team could be colored if they wanted to. From Grant Williams to Sasha Feinberg, Ngome who's actually mixed race, to Damian Willemse, to Kanan Moody, to Cheslin Colby, to Kurtley Arense, to Warwick Galant, Augustus, Giorno Augustus, your Brian Habanas, your Ashwin Willemses, too talented. Sprints. Music, of course, now we speak Tyler. I mentioned Youngster CPT. We had AKA. We had hip-hop, man. There's these guys that... Cashless Society, not Cashless Society. There's this group of colored gents that were instrumental in hip-hop in the Western Cape. I think DJ Reddy D as well, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected. Prophets of the City, I think is the term I'm looking for, of the group of gents. We've got coloreds in politics. I mentioned Patricia DeLille, Trevor Manuel. Of course, we've got your Gayton McKenzie's today, Liam Jacobs. Sheldon, I don't know if Thatcher is his surname, the founder and the owner of Legends Barbershop. He may be mixed race, of course, Dr. Siso Mpofu Walsh as a podcaster and an academic. He doesn't define himself as colored, but he is mixed race. He identifies as Zulu. Warwick Stock, DJ Waras, that I've had on platforms before. The Khoi and the San, the Bushmen, were protesting at the union buildings for many years. They've just been removed recently. And they were crying for, number one, the term colored is derogatory and they want it removed. Number two, they want to be acknowledged as some of the original people in Southern Africa and arguably the owners of whatever this land is today. When black people complain about white people and Jan van Riebeeck in 1652, white people come back and say, but the Khoi and the San were here before you guys. And where black people kick and scream, at least the history we know speaks about migration, about the Bantu people coming from up north. Whether that's true or not also is up for debate, because some of the Xhosa people can link themselves all the way back to 500 CE here in South Africa. So that's disputed, but there were people and they became infused. Afrikaans is the second, if not third most spoken language in South Africa. And it's not because of white people, it's because of coloreds. Coloreds speak Afrikaans. And there's an argument that Afrikaans was not created by white people. Afrikaans was created by the Khoi and the San in the Western Cape, in the Cape, who would interact with the Dutch and the Germans and the French and other people that were passing by on their way to the east to get spices and silk. And in doing that, they created their own Fanagalo, their own mixed masala language, which became Afrikaans. And then when the Dutch, with a mix, formalized themselves as a group and called themselves Afrikaners, they also took this language of Afrikaans, which again, I'm saying some people argue, it wasn't created by them. They took it from those people who today we may even argue are the colored people. The language of Afrikaans, African, because this is their only home. We joke about coloreds being so angry because it's the black in them and the white in them busy fighting each other over the land. Coloreds are angry. We've forgotten about them. Coloreds are lost. They don't know their identity. Many of them had to create their own surnames because they didn't know who to link themselves to. They couldn't take the white person's surname. They couldn't take their black surname. So they'd take months of the year, January, September, October, and those would be their names. Some of them would take the names of the farm they were on, maybe because they knew that the farmer is actually the father of these kids. Jacobs, Josephs. Some would become Muslim and they would be the leaders of Islam in South Africa, in the Cape. Passionate people, love singing, love R&B. They've got their own festivals. They're racist, a lot of them. Oh boy, a lot of colored people are racist towards black people. But black people also suffer from self-hate. The same thing coloreds hate about black people that are a bit uppity hate about black people. And it's also the legacy of apartheid, because coloreds were told by white people that they are better than blacks. For any young kid who wants to know history, just travel around and you'll see this is white suburbia. When I travel out, I then bump into a colored community. As I'm traveling away from the suburbs, I'm from Newcastle. So when you're in the suburbs of Newcastle, the colored community fairly is relatively close to the white suburbs, but you have to drive much further to get to the black township, Emadadeni or Sizweni. You have to drive past Westbury, Coronation to get to Soweto where the blacks are. That was white people saying we think coloreds are better, and maybe a bit of a guilty conscience in knowing that some of these kids are actually half our children. So we have them closer, and in that they put this chip on the shoulder of coloreds to say, you are better than the blacks. So a lot of them end up becoming racist. And when you speak to coloreds will tell you even within themselves, there's some type of tribalism, racism, where light-skinned coloreds look down on darker-skinned coloreds. There are coloreds that look at people like Gayton, McKenzie and like, hey, he looks more black than colored. And they look down on each other. That's life. It's the same way there's tribalism with the Zulus and the Xhosas and the Sothos. That's human dimensions, but we can work on it. We have never, as Africa, as an African continent, as an African union, sent the leaders of Africa, the presidents, the prime ministers, the kings, to America to hold a conference to say to all African Americans, we would like to welcome you to please come back home if you wish, or to come and lay a stake in Africa if you wish, because you were taken from us in the transatlantic slave trade. Please come back home. If you're an African American, show us your American ID. We will let you in. You don't have to pay for a visa. We will welcome you in, and we will find you a piece of land to say, you were stripped away from us as slaves and we'd like to bring you back. This is your home. If you don't want to come back, that is you are well within your rights. But we want you to know that Africa is your home. We are not turning our backs on you. And where we can, we will have cleansing ceremonies for you. We will slaughter animals. We will celebrate. We will say our children have come back home. And if you like, we'll give you a new name. From Dr. Umar Johnson to Dr. Umar Ifatunde. We will give you an African name from Ghana, Nigeria, or South Africa, or Tanzania. A Swahili name, or a Zulu name, or a Yoruba name, whatever it is. Welcome home. The leadership of the continent have never done that. The leadership of South Africa have never held a conference to say we would like to discuss the colored situation. And we want to welcome coloreds as official South Africans. To say specifically as a black government, you guys are black, please come home. You can choose if you want to be associated with amaXhosa, amaZulu, amaNdebele, abeSuthu, whatever it is. And we can have a slaughtering, cleansing, celebration and ceremony, and we can give you a name. You'll go from Clinton Davids to Usipho Mazibuko. And that'll be your new name and you can own it proudly. This is who I am. I was welcomed back into my family. The king there welcomed me and cleansed me and said, this is your piece of land as a colored guy, but you are now black, you are now Xhosa, you are now Shitsonga, whatever the case may be. Shout out to Shoma Josie, who's also mixed race. Where the white people have vision, they could have their own conference and say, look, we want to acknowledge all the women that were violated in the birthing of the colored community. We want to apologize, reparations, a ceremony, whatever the case may be. And we would like to take as many of you as possible to Europe to go and see where we come from. I think the McKenzies, if I'm not mistaken, might be Scottish. Some are Irish, some are Welsh, some are British. Some are probably Dutch, German, French. And then for the ones who we know you are not assaulted, but you maybe had a romantic relationship with a white man, we want to say we're sorry that we made your relationship and your love a crime. It was wrong. We're sorry. How can we make this up to you? And then after that, they also welcome them. If you would like to identify as a white English person, if you'd like to identify as a white Afrikaner, let's do so. You're now no longer Benny McCarthy. You're now Jonathan van der Merwe. You're going to change. We are welcoming you as a white person. If white people wanted to do that. Or if you guys want to remain colored, happiness. Do you like the term colored? In America, it's deemed a derogatory term. They say colored is the wrong term. You should be called mixed race. No, bro, I'm a colored. I'm a braino. I'm lekker. Like, okay, you'll be colored. Or do you want to be called mixed race? Or do you want to be called something else? And we speak about it and we welcome them as South Africans and not as what we're doing now. And they feel lost. When Gayton McKenzie started pushing for the Patriotic Alliance with the hashtag #OnsBaizani, I found myself swelling with pride and so happy that finally there's going to be a colored leader who's going to speak on behalf of colored people. There are as many colored people in South Africa as there are white people as a whole. Colored people can literally have a party as big as the Democratic Alliance on their own. Coloreds can build an economy as powerful as a white economy on their own because there are as many of them as there are white people. They speak a language of Afrikaans. As I said, in terms of sports, they're almost untouchable. They are brilliant in music and the arts and in business. And then I was a bit upset because then Gayton started speaking about the whole South Africa. It became like Nelson Mandela and the ANC, and I was welcoming everyone. And I was like, is this a funding issue? It doesn't matter. But I'm glad that he's spoken up for colored people now. We need more colored voices, along with Mama or Patricia DeLille. And I think the leaders of, there's a colored political party in the Western Cape as well. These are our people. These are our brothers and sisters. And the fact that I'm seeing so many black people fighting with coloreds online, it makes me fucking sick. Because you guys are just perpetuating the legacies of apartheid and the white supremacist ideology that celebrates when they see black on black violence, black on colored violence and fighting. They're like, yes, good shot. Let them fucking fight. It's wrong. It's fucking wrong. We had an opportunity to use this as a conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about colors. They're upset. Why are they upset? Because no one ever listens to them. How can we help them? How can we integrate them? How can we get more black people into colored communities, more coloreds into white and black communities, and work with each other and not have this weird racism and looking down on each other that was created by the apartheid government? How do we remedy some of the issues of the past? Black people want reparations. Coloreds are saying, besides reparations, can you guys acknowledge us? My fucking great-great-grandmother was a woman, but you don't want to acknowledge me as part of your family. Why? Are colored people crazy? That should be a conversation. If they are, why? Why are they crazy? What is it that would make a colored person crazy? Is it the same thing that would make a Julius Malema crazy when he complains about white supremacy and racism? Is it the same type of crazy that Jacob Zuma would have, trying to push for radical economic transformation and saying the economic transfer is moving too slowly? What craziness is this that we're speaking about when we speak about colors? Is it violence? Why are they violent? Who's the most violent? Is it colors? Is it black people? Is it because of drugs? Because of alcohol? Because of gangs? We speak about drug cartels now because of Umkwanas. What's happening in the Cape Flats, bro? The violence there. The DA wants us to worship them and running the Western Cape. They have not been able to resolve the Cape Flats. Johan Rupert would call them out at the White House, pointing a finger at John Steenhuisen and saying, Exenia Flopa, Brazo. No one is trying to resolve that. Everyone's turning a blind eye. And when coloreds vent, when they speak, other black people are bashing them. And you're like, what the flying fuck? People are crying out. Your child that was a victim of rape or a result of rape is crying out, and you're turning a blind eye and you're bashing them. Like they really, really unwanted. You are perpetuating this thing of because you are not black or white and you are an other, we will also treat you like filth. My mother has a arguably Indian father, Hussein Chota Amin, who was passed on before I was born. Black Zulu mother, Tembelihle Umaria Miaga. My mom looks colored, coloredish Indian. Her father's side of the family, which we've had the pleasure of meeting, very colored, very Indian, largely Muslim, a lot of Christians there as well. We get born, myself, my brother, my sister, our hair is a slightly different texture. We don't really look that colored, but I mean, you look at these eyebrows, bro, and you're like, Chief, are you not from Ethiopia, Somalia? Ufana no Thabo Bester. Also, my friend, when I got into no there's a discount. Hey, my friend, how much you got? How much you got? And you look at that, and I listen to the stories of my mom and how major parts of her community shunned her and ill-treated her, calling her Busman, Sulman. And it would be black people that would give her toxicity. Terrence Howard, American Hollywood actor, would sit with Oprah Winfrey. I think they were doing a discussion of the movie Crash with Ludacris. And I think Tandy Newton, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And Terrence Howard would speak about it would be his black community where he'd experienced a lot of prejudice. People teasing the fact that he had different colored eyes and he was a different texture. My mom would be confused about her identity. What is she? How does she explain to her children what happened? What becomes difficult for me now as I'm old is I try to reach out to my maternal grandfather's side of the family. 2-3 people, very warm and welcoming. They explain some of the history. They tell me my grandfather was married, who he was married to, that he had a daughter, and they don't really speak about his other children, of which I know at least 3, my mom being one of them. I watch a reality TV show. It's not Utatako. One of these shows, I don't know if it's Mocha Love or Mzansi Magic. There's a mixed race lady who's trying to find her father. And in trying to find her father, she finds out her father is an Indian Muslim man. And when she gets to his house, he refuses to see her. And luckily, one friendly Muslim man comes and says, look, I'm sorry to hear about your ordeal, but it's actually very true that many Muslims in the community, they deny kids that they fathered, sired outside, and they turn their backs on men who are breaking and sinning against the Quran. So those men tend to also lie and hide about their indiscretions. You know, when we speak about the Middle East and Dubai and men pissing on women and the like, those things are haram. But guys will like whisper these things in dark corners. We speak about white men now, but there's a section of colored mixed race kids who are the descendants of an Indian man and a black woman. Maybe a colored mixed race man, first generation, mulatto, with a black. And now, for whatever reason, this person also doesn't want to. I mean, black men deny their own children, black children. Black men are deadbeats to their own black children. So, why would it be surprising that they'd be white deadbeats? The whole colored community is like a representation of white deadbeats. But then there's also Indian deadbeats who are denying their kids. But you can see, bro, you can see this child is a mix. These things need to be fixed. And if our political leaders don't have the political will to solve it, if our community leaders, sadly, for whatever advantage they get to keep us separated and segregated, want it to be perpetuated, cool. If whites refuse to take accountability, it's all right. It's going to be on each and every one of us to go within our own families. Some of you guys are light-skinned and you don't know why. You're black, Umxhosa, Umswati, you're from Mozambique and you call yourself an indigenous Mozambican person. But you're light-skinned in a very weird way. Some of your hair textures are funky. You look at the Motsipe family and you look at their texture. I'd find out recently from the First Lady, Dr. Tsepo Motsipe Ramaphosa, that their father sent them to colored schools because they didn't want them to have Bantu education, which is why they speak Afrikaans and why they have somewhat of a colored accent. But if I'm not mistaken, I think their mother as well, Motsipe, was a mixed race lady. And I think they have some Scottish heritage in there. They're not the only ones. If you're light-skinned, if there's something in the texture of your hair, your beard, that is a bit, there's a chance that somewhere in your family tree, your eye color, you've got like light-skinned eyes or greenish. Somewhere in your family, there's a story that has been untold. Somewhere in your story, there are dark secrets. I had the pleasure of meeting an amazing lady called Neo Power recently. She and her team are currently drafting or creating a documentary where she is speaking about Pan-Africanism, what it means to be an African and African identity. But in that, she uncovers her own personal story where she would find out later on in her life that there is white blood in there. And if you ever get the privilege to meet this lady, you can see with her eyes, with Eman, and her skin texture. I've sat with Ursula Mariani, who would tell me that her grandfather, her father's father, was a white Italian man in Malawi. So they've got that blood in there. I would sit with Usisu Miranda and Changase of star quality. And she would speak about her father who's white and where he comes from and why she's mixed race. We can speak about Alicia Keys. We can speak about Drake. We can speak about so many mixed race people who are first generation. Sasha Feinberg, Ngomezulu. But then there's coloreds that come from there. And then there's light-skinned blacks, or there are blacks that look a bit Indianish. Something's not making sense somewhere. You're black, but you don't have like the black palm, as an example. Why is that? Why is your shape different? You must go and interrogate and investigate. And where you can, it's very difficult because family secrets, when they come out, break families. Finding out your father's not your father, your grandfather was not your grandfather because your mother or your grandmother lied, can break your entire identity. You've been beating your chest to an umzulu, and you're like, and you find out that your real father is actually a Tsonga man. After all your hate, you find out that after all, abahambe, foreigners must go, you find out that someone in your family tree is actually Shona from Zimbabwe, from Mozambique. After all your noise, not a good look, my mate. Let's go and fix our families. You fix your family, you get that foundation solid, your family can now work together to try and build a strong community. Once you have a strong community, you can then look into building a strong nation. But our families are so broken and fragmented, and it starts in these conversations about colored people, open. And this thing is going to come and go like every other trending story, and we will have missed out on a huge opportunity to engage on something that affects all of us. All of us. Have a great and blessed Friday. Pen you all the black pen. To all my brainos, to all my coloreds, away my second. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And where we can come together and work and build, let's do so. To the guys at Open Chats, I'm really sorry that you guys were unlucky. Many of us podcasters say some wild shit online, and every now and then someone catches it. Unfortunately, it was your turn. But this is a teachable moment. This is a learning opportunity for you to humble yourselves, review what type of work are we doing, go and reach out to the colored community and see if you can work with them. Sit with them and listen to where you are wrong and where you can do better and do some work. That's how we fix things. Not in just cancel culture and rushing to open cases and the like. Gayton, McKenzie, Liam, Jacobs, thank you for being voices for the colored community. But let's also be a bit responsible as leaders out there. And let's not inflame something where we can actually manage it better and try and help our people to win. I love you. I appreciate you. The black pen, pen elimnyama, usiba olunsundu, the sword pen, pene enso. Cheers.